Hello and welcome back to the Project 70 and 90. Right, where did we leave you last time? We were just about to go out on a test ride. So the bike obviously started. The next day I took it out for 150 miles. Everything seems to be running fine. She started every time I stopped. No hesitation on the throttle. No lumpiness. No slow speed problems. No snatchy throttle. Everything appears to be good. Still want to get it checked though with regard to the fueling. So since then I've done another day out on it. I did another 100 miles, so there's about 260 miles in total on it. There's been no oil burnt, no smoke, nothing. Everything seems to run fine. So until I get that map checked, I can't really confirm whether or not the standard 790 ECU is fueling correctly. But by the sound of the way the bike runs and the economy I'm getting on the fuel, it's about the same as the original 790 engine. So all in all, I'm happy with that. Thank you for all the comments and feedback I've got through the YouTube comments. It's been really good to see people from as far afield as Argentina enjoying what I'm doing and maybe taking on board some of the things. A few of the comments have asked me how much it's cost. So in this episode, I've got some paper, some notes, just to go through everything that's kind of cost. But first of all, I want to tell you the symptoms of what my piston generated. So I'm probably thinking back to midsummer, probably July time. I was up in the west coast of Scotland. On the way back, had quite a spirited ride home. Making good use of the rev range. Got home, put the bike away. Next day I came out and noticed that there was some moisture on the outside of one of the engine casings. The actual alternator cover, on the top of it, there was kind of just a bit of weeping, and I thought, oh, it's a 5-year-old bike, probably needs a new gasket. So I threw a new gasket on it, still didn't seal it. Threw another gasket onto it, still didn't seal it. Was going to RTV it and stuff, and then I thought, there's maybe something wrong here. So I thought, maybe something's happened with the cams because of all the cam controversy at the moment with the 790s. So I took it up to my dealer, and they were the ones who diagnosed the crack in the piston. So basically, I had oil bubbling out through a gasket. I've got a video of it. I'll insert it somewhere here so you can see what it looked like. And it looked like there was crankcase pressure building up, but it wasn't until the dealer actually took the engine apart they found the broken piston, and then I got a quote. So let's go through what the quote was. So obviously I've got several items here, but this was just to repair what was damaged. So you had 2 cam followers, 2 valve spring caps, 2 balance shaft shells, a crank shell, a big end shell, piston kit 2 of, cam chain, gasket kit, inlet valves, exhaust valve, and 12 hours of labour. So there's no part numbers and stuff here, but basically what they were doing was replacing what everything was measured, and anything that was kind of worn or damaged was going to be replaced, which meant I would have had a 34,000 mile 790 engine with only half of the bits repaired or replaced. So you would probably, would it do another 34,000? I don't know. But anyway, just to give you some figures, I mean, cam followers are £83 each. Piston kits are £265, £32 each. And the gasket kit, £250, and then ancillaries, exhaust valve, 75, inlet valve, 63. So it all starts to add up. So, when I added it up together, the sum of the parts was significant enough. The labour was almost £900. So that's 12 hours labour, £900, and the total bill would have been approximately £2,321.40, and that's with an engine at the end of it that you would have, which would be 34,000 miles old, 5 years old, and just repaired, not totally refurbished. So that just gives you an idea of the cost. The parts are expensive, pistons and piston kits. That's a lot of money for piston kits. So when I got the bill back, I kind of thought to myself, no, I'll go pick up the bike. So when I picked up the bike, it was in pieces. The guys had taken it apart, so I had a bill there. So I paid about £470, I think, and that was just all labour for the guys to take it apart, measure everything, and tell me what's wrong and what needs replaced. So that was kind of gives you an idea of the cost that was involved. So by that stage, by the time I'd made a decision to go back up and pick up the bike, I had already put an offer in on an engine. So the engine that's obviously in it now was bought from a company called Moto Mine. They had it advertised for circa £1,800, which I thought was a bit much. So I put an offer in and it got accepted at £1,350, so £1,350 plus delivery, which brought the total to £1,425. So that's about £1,000 cheaper than what the quote was to repair it, but I had a brand new engine and a box full of spares technically. So that's the bit. Obviously, you've seen some of the clips where I've been talking about, do I buy a new header, exhaust and things like that. And I did a few extra things while I was at it. But basically, the engine was raw. It mainly cost me my time. So I would say with the headers and the decat pipe I paid 124 second hand. For the headers, I paid 130. The story about that's in the last episode where they refunded, and then, apologies my phone, where they refunded and put in a bit extra money so I could buy the new ones. So that ended up being sort of 130, 120, so say 250, 1425. You're up in sort of 1675, say £1,700 plus ancillaries like oil, etc. And just time mainly. Other bits that I'd done obviously was powder coating. I didn't have to do that, but I thought I'd do it while we had the back end off. So you're probably talking £1,800 in total to do it myself. That's with a bit of help from people online and a bit of help from what I got. But generally, it wasn't a hard job. The engine was good. I did buy a few tools and stuff, but they're always, I'm not going to count those, but they're the kind of tools that you'll keep forever. So that just gives you an idea. So having spent £400 on getting the bike diagnosed and taken apart, you're probably breaking about even. But the thing for me, the selling point for me, is that this engine has 2,000 miles on it, or well, nearly 3,000 now. It had 2,256 miles according to the invoice, and that basically means I've now got almost a brand new engine in this bike, and it feels like it, to be honest. The bike feels tight. It sounds a lot better than my old engine. There's no rattling. It's very smooth. Definitely notice the extra weight in the crankcase, especially in corners. When you're manoeuvring the bike, it must be obviously the gyroscopic effect of having a bit more weight. The bike feels less flighty in the corners. It feels like when you lean it in, it stays leaned in, whereas the other one used to kind of do a wee bit of this. The suspension hasn't changed, so it must be to do with a wee bit of extra weight in the crankcase. That's all I can put it down to. And otherwise, she's running fine. So that gives you an idea of the cost. I mean, you either repair an old engine or you buy a new one and hope it's okay, but you're obviously at risk then. Thankfully with the engine, you had a 60-day warranty period that if anything went wrong with it, you probably could have sent it back or claimed for it. The company who I dealt with have been superb. No problems with them at all. I don't think there would be a problem if I could prove that obviously the engine wasn't running. I've proved that it has running and it's fine. They do have other engines online at the minute. I've seen one with a big hole in the crankcase, which maybe I wouldn't have bought, but that's up to you if you want to do that. But overall, very happy with what I've done. I think I did the right thing, where I now have a low mileage engine in an old frame, which will hopefully run for another few miles. One thing to note as well is that when I informed my insurance company that I'd put a bigger engine in, they refused to insure it after, well, it wasn't a refusal, they wouldn't cover it, so I had to get a new insurance company to underwrite it. So that took a bit of money to do that as well, but that was a bit of a surprise. I really probably should have checked before I did that. But yeah, that was another thing I had to take into consideration. And also the DVLA have to be told if you've changed engine numbers and stuff. So if you've bought an engine and you want to put it in a bike, you'll need to have evidence, i.e. a certificate or a receipt of an invoice for that engine and things like that. It's obviously to stop people sticking in stolen engines, etc. So I've done that all legit. It's all gone off to the DVLA and it's all been put on my V5. So that will have the new engine number and etc. on it. But otherwise, not too bad a process. And as I said, you're probably even Stevens. If you knew your engine was damaged and you didn't need a dealer to tell you that, you could just take it out and whip one in and save 400 quid. But I did that more for peace of mind because I found out my cams were okay on the 790. Sorry, I jest. Okay. Next steps. What else have we been talking about? Obviously, it's winter time here now, so it's not getting out as much as what it is. I've been out the last 2 weekends, and this weekend it's just we've had a storm go through. Storm Bert. Hello, Bert. So it's gone through. So the bike will probably be parked now, probably till after Christmas. I still have to phone a dyno man about getting it maybe booked in to get it dynoed to check the fueling. I also want to do an oil change because the oil's turned a dark colour fairly quickly, but that's to do with the residual oil that was in it when I bought it. It was black as your boot. So yeah, so that's kind of the plans for that. Otherwise, she's running okay. There is a wee bit of a, how can you say, a wee bit of a concern about the quick shifter functioning. I don't know if that's to do with the type of oil I'm using. I'm using Repsol Smarter oil, which is JSO requirements and exact same standard as the Motor X Power Synth. But it was fairly cheap, and it may have been cheap for a reason. Maybe it just doesn't have that slickness that the Motor X maybe that helps it. So the plan is obviously to swap the oil out. I'll probably do another ride on it before I do that, just to get it flushed around and get it in. But the oil levels remain consistent. It's turned a darker colour, which may be just the oil type. But what I want to do is I want to get that warmed up and flushed out again then before I take it down to the dyno, put some fresh oil in, and that may cure the quick shifter problem. Now, the problem I'm having with the quick shifter is that it's taken a real clunk with your foot to get it into gear. It almost feels like the quick shifter's not functioning, but I am getting the auto blipper down a couple of gears, like say from 5th to 4th, I'm definitely getting the auto blipper. So something is working there. So there's nothing coming up in the diagnostics that it's not working, but I don't have KTM diagnostics. That may be something which needs recalibrated at a dealer. Another few quid, no doubt. But it's just something which I'll try and work through. I do have a Recluse clutch, which was in the old bike, which is only done, it's only done 10,000 miles. I need to measure it. It should have plenty of meat on it. Once I do that, then I'll know whether or not to stick that in. I also have a factory Pro Shift gear selector, spring bearing type thing. You've maybe seen it in a couple of videos ago. That does make the gear change more positive. There's a bit less false neutrals. But I've got to suss out what's going on with the quick shifter, because just the symptom of it is going up the gears with the clutch is perfect. Gearbox works fine. It's just when you tap it on the 790, it used to be quite sensitive. So if you actually touched it accidentally, it would try and change gear. You know, it would drop the revs on you. So it's slightly different. I don't know if there's a different tweak on the 890. It may be one of the sensors isn't quite working, or maybe it isn't plugged in right. But I'll suss all that out. But it appears to be working. It's switched on the dash. I've messed about with the angle a little bit of the selector on the splines, and that seemed to improve stuff, because I think because I'm using a Vanache gear lever, I think it was fouling on the upshift just on the foot peg mount. So I've lowered it a little bit. I've lowered it probably about 10 mil, and that's now not fouling. So it was maybe tapping that and not getting far enough up to select the gear. So it appears to go up the gearbox okay, but it does need a firm, real tug. You have to do a concerted. It's not like the old bike where you just tap it, bang, 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 you go through the gears. So it may need a quick recalibration. It could be the gear oil, or it could be the oil. It could be maybe the fact that the clutch has been in an old engine, or been in an engine sitting in a yard for maybe 2 years, 3 years, and therefore there may be something going on with the clutch. So my plan is I'll take the clutch out and have a look at it. That's not too, you can do that You don't even have to change the oil for that. But that's stuff I'll do over the next wee while. I will video that so you can see what the inside of the gubbins looks like, and things like that. But otherwise, that's really it. I'm just going to look at my notes here just to see if there's anything else that I kind of should mention. I've told you the backstory. I've told you the cost. Test ride wise, yeah, I told you that was all good. Radiator. I managed to source an aluminium radiator from a source east of here, that's what I'll say. It came all the way from China. It was advertised on eBay and I thought I'd take a punt. It's about half price of a brand new radiator from KTM, and it's silver. So it's raw silver. It is a little bit, how can you say, a little bit rough around the edges. It's probably not a pro alloy spec type radiator, but it is something that I've just got sitting in the background. I'm not going to change it out just now because, one, I'm not riding the bike, two, that radiator is working fine, the temperatures are all good, so I'll probably run that for a while and see what it's like. If I do start getting maybe some higher temperatures when I'm riding off-road, I'll maybe think, right, that's time to try that radiator, or I'll just wait until I want to do a coolant flush and swap it in. But I have a spare one there. You'll have seen me showing the corrosion on it a few episodes ago, so that was the concern. Otherwise, you know, stuff that I'm planning on doing, I've spoke about. I'll try and get that done in the new year, but this video was just by way of a bit of an update of what's been happening. But at the moment, she's all running well. She's been washed, and she's sort of ready to be put up for the winter. You can probably hear the storm outside. So she's all kind of set up for the winter. And she's on the charger, trickle charger. So she'll be tucked away again, cover over her, and then we'll bring her back out in the better weather. If we do get some decent weather, I'll try and get out with the camera and just get some riding so you can maybe hear the engine running. Next update, I don't know when it'll be. It's coming up to a busy period in everybody's lives, so it could be something in the new year. But if you haven't done so already, and I really appreciate some of the feedback you guys have done, you know, leave a comment down below, ask any questions. Tell me if there's anything you'd like to particularly me to talk about with regard to how I've done stuff over the last wee while. Let me know, and I can maybe do a little update video and answer some of those questions. That might be an idea. The next bit obviously will be the standard YouTube bit. This is I've seen on the stats that 90% of people are not subscribers that are watching the videos. If you are interested in 790, 890 content, then click subscribe, click a like. It all helps the algorithm. I'm slowly learning this YouTube stuff. It's getting to the stage now where I think, right, okay, there's a wee bit of momentum here. Maybe this is what people want to see, some stuff about fixing these bikes and maintaining them now that they're coming to an age. Also note that KTM have just announced that the 790 is continuing. It's replaced the 890S, or the 890 Adventure, as people call it. So obviously the R model is going to be the only 890 at the moment, going into the new year. KTM are not doing too well in the stock market, if you read between the lines, but it looks like it'll be a restructuring thing. And that may be the reason why they've only done a 790, 890 R version. For the next year, they might be just trying to get rid of stock. They might have a lot of stock sitting. I don't really know, but the 890 Adventure is the made in China one, which I have no qualms about at all. Looks like a good bike. I've not seen one obviously up close, but they seem to be coming now with adjustable suspension, 790 engines, knock sensors, all the things. So they are definitely a good bike in my opinion. Would I buy one just now? Well, no, because I've got this one kind of tricked out, and it's an 890 as well. But you know, if that got written off, God forbid, touch wood and all that, I would seriously consider just replacing it with a standard 790. I have no qualms about that at all. But with KTM, what they're doing at the moment, I'm not quite sure if there's going to be a 990 Adventure. I would say it's coming at some stage, and that'll probably be quite a big fanfare, and then I would reckon that could be 26. I've not seen any announcements yet, but knowing KTM, they didn't do everything at EICMA. They may leave it until springtime to announce the 890 or the 990R, but we'll see if it disappears. It may be announced before Christmas, you never know. They tend to do some things like that where they do a load of stuff at EICMA and then drip feed bikes in thereafter. But we'll keep an eye out for it. But at the moment, this has got another lease of life, and I'll keep riding it. Okay. So as I said, if you do like the videos, give us a like, subscribe, whatever, and we'll get back into it once the weather picks up a little bit. and I'll try and keep it strictly 790, 890 content. But there you go. But anyway, for those of you who are doing engine swaps, let me know, because I only know of 2 people that have done it so far. I know of a Duke and this bike that have been done. If you've done an engine swap or you're planning on doing it, put something in the comments, because I'd really like to know how you guys do it as well. And if you video it, it'd be brilliant. Look on the socials as well. I'll keep them up to date with anything that's going on. But in the meantime, we're coming into a quiet period now, so wishing you the best for the new year and the holiday period that's coming up for a lot of people. And we'll catch you on the other side. Over and out.